Welcome back to Gamology's Experts React. Me, Dr. Jordan Wagner, better known as Dr. ER. Today, we are checking out Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 Takedowns. This should be interesting. Let's get right into it. Ooh, graphics.
Syringe.
Poison?
Non-lethal. It'll take him out of commission. Welcome to my world.
Yeah, so really interesting. So we got syringe and injections and non-lethal. Is that a real thing? I mean, we kind of do similar things in the emergency department. So what do I mean by that? So they're probably going to do an intramuscular injection. Very hard to take somebody down and try to get it in a major blood vessel. It doesn't really work that well that way to get it IV. The graphics are actually pretty cool. Right, so a stab to the abdomen. It actually looks like an auto injector, almost like an EpiPen, which might have just been designed for this situation. Does it actually work that fast? Probably not, but it is a video game, right? So same idea. So these are all IM injections, and see the thumb. Very interestingly, you got to be careful. So it looks like an EpiPen. People actually auto inject into their own thumb because they're holding it backwards. So just be aware, make sure you have it in the right direction. You don't want to inject it into yourself. That's not a fun feeling when you don't need it. Just in the broad daylight. Now, does the body go limp? Yeah, it could, but usually it takes a couple minutes for an IM injection to set in, so it doesn't happen that fast. And then the other component is the trauma from the falling that you have to worry about. Most of the time, their airway is not compromised, but you do have to worry some medication. So if I were to give different type of pain medication, because that is used in conscious sedation sometimes, very controlled medication, it can decrease respiratory drive. So you have to worry about that. But there are other medications, say ketamine. Ketamine can be given IM. It does have some side effects where you can have a significant amount of nausea. You can have hypersalivation, which again, then you have to give atropine, different medication. And then you can also have emergence phenomenon, but you're not really worried about it in this situation. That is airway protective. It actually causes a release of your catecholamines, which causes bronchodilation to actually protect your lungs. So you can use that in that situation. And that medication is a dissociative hypnotic. So eyes are open, but nobody's home. Oh my gosh! What? The head shouldn't probably be even on there anymore. You actually see the individual wearing ear protection. Pretty good, minus the fact that the bullet went like right through everything, through and through that close. You have the muzzle burn, right? And then you have just the explosive injury. I've shot these type of guns before, at a range, and the amount of fire and explosion that you see and different things that happen, it's huge. And then, of course, the bullet just ripping through all that tissue. Oh. So a hit to the side of the head, injury to the ear, pain. You can actually cause the eardrum to rupture, and then, close quarter, handgun to the head. As long as there's a large caliber going through all that tissue, it's going to cause obviously a significant amount of damage. It's kind of cool to actually see that they use the stun to the side of the head. Oh! A lot of stab wounds to right flank, thinking spleen, maybe lung, and then up into the clavicle area, into the neck. You can actually puncture the supraclavicular area. So you have a major artery that runs right underneath the clavicle and then goes right into your neck. So a lot of laceration injuries and puncture wounds. Get in, twist, would cause more damage, right? Oh my gosh. Bam. Head trauma, just like that, will even just cause you to be so stunned and dazed you don't know what's going on, and even cause visual disturbances, because what happens is your optic nerve for your eyes actually go into the posterior aspect. So you can be all confused and not know what's going on. You're also your balance center of your brain, right? Your cerebellum sits back there, so you'll be off, not know where you are, disoriented for a few seconds, visual changes, and then somebody's shooting me in the head. What? Why would you do that? That is a massive gun. You can just tell by the weight of it. Yeah, look at that thing. What is that, like a 50 caliber? Somebody tell me what that is. But I would expect everything just to explode. But I've said it before, sometimes the weight of the object will cause more of the trauma than the strength of the individual wielding. Whoa, so laceration in the back, but then deep penetration of the knife all the way up to the handle through the chest. So that's going way in there. You're hitting a lot of structures. If it's midline to the left, hitting the heart and causing puncture wounds and hole to the heart. Same idea here. if you're hitting that right in the correct area, you're going to have a lung injury, but more concerning is, did you sneak it through a rib spot? Did it go through the sternum? Very hard to go through the sternum, but you can sneak right past through a rib into the intercostal spaces, puncture underlying structure. Oh, don't mess with that individual. Holy cow. Laceration, puncture wound, puncture wound, puncture wound. Okay, literally, I'll do a central line of the subclavian artery that sits right underneath here. Literally, that's what she's stabbing. And so you're just putting holes in major arteries that are just branches right off of the aorta. And if you get it enough, you're going to cause a lot of bleeding, and you're just going to bleed out. You can't actually put pressure on that area because of all the bones that are in the way. Then, obviously, you're going through lung tissue as well, which will cause the lung to collapse, which is a pneumothorax, and then bleed into that area, add it to a hemothorax. We just like having all these extra names that we all have to look up, but those are the medical terms that I have to put in my chart. Instead of shoot you, I'm just going to punch you a bunch. Quick grab to the knife, straight underneath. So if it's going deep enough into the brain, maybe cause a problem, or posterior enough, right into the spinal cord, severing your brainstem, and then that can cause death as well. I do like that they want to take you down from the front side. Blunt force trauma to the forehead. It's actually the safest place to actually have trauma to the forehead, but it dazes you, confuses you, because coup, counter coup, whiplash type injuries, block, hit, and then just shot. Obviously, a bullet that's close to the right area could cause a significant amount of trauma and injury. What an interesting takedown. You're able to pull him down to the ground, confused, toss to the ground, and then maybe just do a massive shotgun, double lot, or is that, a single bullet? I don't know, but it's going to cause a big hole, big trauma. We don't typically see a lot of gunshot wound trauma in the emergency department. I do see some people have had them, and you just see x-rays where there's all these little pellets just like everywhere. Usually, if you survive it, it's more extremity type injury or a really far shrapnel type injury. Oh, there you go. The shot to the back. You're probably going to die from that if you don't get treatment. And then confirming the kill by just shooting up into the vital organs. Back injury, and then up into the thoracic cavity. Look, that's it looks like the takedown move for this character, but in the back, lower extremity causing issue, and then straight up. Ah, that looks like almost like a reused move. That's a leg lower and then up right into the neck area. So, hey, that potentially could be survivable and not be deadly if it doesn't go deep enough. Oh my gosh. Boop, boop. That reminds me of like John Wick, like super fast with the hand movements for pistol shooting. Oh my gosh. Actually, it's like tripping my mind. But again, same maneuvers, shot, and then turn around and shoot in the neck, head. So it seems like a common theme where incapacitates the individual and then do your final kill move so that you don't have to worry about the person coming back to get Oh my gosh. Hyperextension injury to that left knee. That seemed painful. Disruption of connective tissue. So if you stomp on the leg there, yes, you can cause fractures, but dislocations. And then if it's going posterior like that, you'll always worry about the blood vessels that are right behind the knee. You can rupture the major arteries. If you rupture the major arteries, then you're going to have, significant compromise to the oxygenation of that tissue, and that limb could go off and die basically because you're not getting any gas exchange and oxygen to the tissue. So actually trauma in this situation, literally perpetrator is just standing there and boom, landing on top of an individual could cause blunt trauma force injuries where you could fracture ribs, you can cause a syncopal episode, cause them to be unconscious, can cause concussions, maybe an intracranial bleed. There's all different things could potentially happen. It just depends on how much force. Water takedown. Look at this, super cool. And now you got to drown the individual. So attempt to drown somebody. We have what's called dry drowning versus wet drowning. So dry drowning is just the cold reflex that causes the vocal cords to spasm and you can't breathe that way, but there's no water going into your lungs. Eventually they will. And then obviously if you're getting a lot of water in your lungs, it's a different story. Being stabbed underwater, would you necessarily bleed out quicker? No. You know, is the wound going to stay open a little bit longer? Maybe. You're going to hold that wound. You're going to try to put pressure to the area. You know, think about it. If you continue to have something wet, it actually can cause spasming. So what do I mean by that? When somebody comes to the emergency department and they have a wound, I literally will have to clean out the wound and spray a ton of water on it. Does it actually bleed out more? No, actually, it actually causes the blood vessels to actually constrict down with these type of superficial injuries. But it looks like a ton of blood because it's dispersing in water. If you drop one drop of pure blood into a gallon of water, that whole thing is bright red. So it looks like a ton of blood, but is it that significant? Probably not. In a situation where you have major blood vessel bleeding where the water is not going to cause it to constrict. Could it cause the vessels and the wound to stay open a little bit more, to have more bleeding? Maybe. I need to check the studies on this, but is it that much of a factor? Probably not.
You'll have to get in closer for
Oh! Just sneak attack underwater, not cool. If you're out of the water, you can't hear it coming unless you're actually seeing the water move, so impressive. But right, the movements in the water are a lot slower. So to be able to really kind of, you know, have force into your wounds, it's more slicing than it is like deep penetration. Oh, yeah, pulled in the water, wasn't ready for it, cold reflex, and then hold the individual underwater or stab him in the neck. That'll do the job. You know, if you stab into the trachea or into the major blood vessels of your neck, you're left with the same problem as if you're on land, where you're having trouble with, you know, circulation, blood volume, and then are you going to bleed out? On top of that, if the trachea is then injured, are you having, you know, airway spasming? Are you sucking air? Are you sucking water through the hole in your neck into your airway? Are you not? Are you trying to hold it? All these different questions, but a lot of complications could occur. For more experts reacts on Gamology, check out their YouTube channel as well as Facebook. And for me, Dr. Jordan Wagner or Dr. ER, check out my YouTube channel and Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff for more educational videos. Thank you so much for watching. Check you next time.